So, this is probably the most controversial topic in gaming right now. Game companies are replacing human artists with AI. And I'm not talking about small indie studios. I'm talking about billion-dollar companies that can absolutely afford to pay artists, but they're choosing not to. And look, I know this is a sensitive topic. Real people are losing their jobs, but I think we need to understand why this is happening, even if we don't like it. Because whether we agree with it or not, it's happening right now, and it's only going to accelerate. So today I want to explain the actual reasons game companies are making this choice. Not the PR reasons they give in press releases, but the real economic and business reasons. And then we'll talk about what this means for the future of game development. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with the most obvious reason, even though it's the one nobody wants to say out loud: money. Hiring artists is expensive. A single experienced concept artist at a AAA studio can cost anywhere from $80,000 to $150,000 per year. That's salary, benefits, office space, equipment, everything. Now multiply that by the size of an art team. A big game might have 50 to 100 artists. Some have even more. We're talking about millions of dollars per year just for the art department. Compare that to AI. Most AI art tools cost somewhere between $20 to $200 per month. Even the expensive enterprise solutions are maybe a few thousand per month. You can see the math, right? One AI subscription can replace multiple artists' salaries. And here's the thing that makes this even more attractive to companies. AI doesn't get tired, doesn't take vacations, doesn't need health insurance, and works 24 hours a day. You can generate 100 variations of a character design in an hour. A human artist might take days or weeks to do the same thing. Now, before anyone gets mad at me, I'm not saying this is good. I'm just explaining the economic reality that game company executives are looking at. To them, it's a simple business decision: less cost, more output, faster production. And in an industry where games are taking longer and costing more to make, studios are under massive pressure to find ways to cut costs. Unfortunately, artists became the easier target. So let's be specific about what parts of the artistic process AI is replacing, because it's not everything, at least not yet. The first thing that got hit was concept art and early stage ideation. This is where artists create dozens or hundreds of quick sketches to explore different visual directions. Should this character be tall or short, armored or clothed, blue or red? AI is really good at this exploratory phase. You can type armored knight with blue cape, dark fantasy style, and get 50 variations in minutes. Artists used to spend days on this phase. Now a single art director can do it with AI prompts. The second era is texture work and background assets. Things like rock textures, wood grain, fabric patterns, background buildings. Stuff that needs to exist, but isn't the creative focus of the game. AI can generate this pretty convincingly now, and most players won't even notice the difference. Third is marketing materials. Thus promotional images, social media posts, banner ads. A lot of companies are now using AI to generate this instead of commissioning artists. It's faster and cheaper, and honestly, for a throwaway Instagram post, most people don't care if it was made by AI. What's not been replaced yet is final hero art. The main characters, the iconic designs, the key visual moments. Companies still want human artists for that, because the quality and intentionality matter more. But even this is starting to change as AI gets better. And here's what worries a lot of artists. AI is being used to speed up their work, which sounds good. But what it really means is companies can do the same work with fewer people. Instead of 10 artists working on a project, maybe you only need 3 artists who use AI tools. Those other 7, they're not needed anymore. Let's talk about what this actually means for real people, because I think that's what gets lost in all the technical and business discussions. Artists spend years learning their craft. 4 years of art school, maybe more. Thousands of hours practicing, building portfolios, developing their unique style. And now they've been told that a computer program can do their job in seconds. I've read stories from artists who've been in the industry for 10, 15 years and they're suddenly getting laid off. Not because they weren't good at their job, not because they did anything wrong, just because the company decided AI was cheaper. And here's the brutal part. These artists can't just switch to another company because other companies are doing the same thing. The entire industry is shrinking its art departments at the same time. There are fewer jobs and more people competing for them. Some artists are trying to adapt. They're learning to use AI as a tool in their workflow, but that requires them to basically compete with the thing that's replacing them. It's like being asked to train your own replacement. And there's a psychological aspect too. Imagine dedicating your life to creating beautiful art, pouring your soul into every piece, and then being told that none of that matters because a machine can approximate your style in seconds. That's devastating. The counter-argument from companies is usually something like, AI is just a tool, artists will adapt like they did with Photoshop and digital printing. But that comparison doesn't really work. Photoshop was a tool that made artists more efficient. AI is a tool that makes artists optional. That's fundamentally different. So, we have talked about the business side and the human side. Now let's talk about something that doesn't show up in spreadsheets. What we're actually losing when we replace human artists with AI. Art isn't just about making things look pretty, it's about communication and intention. When a human artist designs a character, every choice means something. The color palette conveys mood, the silhouette communicates personality, the details tell stories. AI doesn't do this. AI recognizes patterns from millions of images and recombines them. It can make something that looks cool, but it doesn't understand why it looks cool or what it's communicating. There is no intention behind the choices, because there is no one making choices. It's statistical probability. Let me give you an example. Look at a character like Geralt from The Witcher or Ellie from The Last of Us. Every detail of their design was carefully chosen by artists to tell you something about who they are. Their clothing, their posture, their scars, their expressions. That's visual storytelling. AI can copy this style, but it can't replicate that intentionality. It might generate something that looks similar, but it won't have that same depth of thought behind it. And there's another issue, cultural and contextual sensitivity. Human artists bring their understanding of culture, history, and symbolism to their work. They know when something might be offensive or inappropriate. AI doesn't have that understanding, it just meshes together patterns. We've already seen cases where AI-generated art that accidentally included offensive symbols or culturally insensitive imagery because it doesn't understand context. It just knows that certain visual elements appear together in its training data. There is also the question of originality and innovation. Human artists push boundaries, try new things, create styles that have never existed before. AI, by its nature, can only create variations of what already exists in its training data. It's inherently derivative. So what happens to game art when we remove the human creativity from the equation? Do we just get endless variations of what already exists? Does everything start looking the same because it's all coming from the same AI models, trained on the same data? So let's talk about the future, because this trend isn't just slowing down, it's accelerating. In the next few years, we are probably going to see AI tools get even better. They'll be able to handle more complex tasks, maintain better stylistic consistency, maybe even start doing some of that intentional design work that only humans can do right now. Some companies will go all in on AI and try to make entire games with minimal human artistic input. We are already seeing this with some mobile games and smaller projects. Whether players will accept this or push back remains to be seen. Other companies will take a hybrid approach. They'll use AI for the grunt work, backgrounds, textures, variations, but keep human artists for their creative directions and hero content. This seems like the most likely path for AAA studios. There is also a possibility of backlash. We are already seeing some players boycott games that heavily use AI art. If that movement grows, companies might have to rethink their strategies. Money talks, and if AI art starts hurting sales, companies will change course. But here's my honest prediction. I think most players won't care enough to make a difference. If a game is fun and looks good, most people won't check whether the art was made by humans or AI. They'll just play it. What I think will happen is a split in the industry. Big companies with tight budgets will use AI heavily. Smaller studios and indie developers who want to differentiate themselves will advertise 100% human-made art as a selling point. It'll become a market differentiation strategy. And for artists, the ones who survive will be the ones who adapt. They'll become AI supervisors, art directors, creative leads. Instead of making every asset themselves, they'll guide AI and refine its output. It's not what they signed up for, but it might be the reality. The junior positions, the entry-level jobs where artists used to learn and grow, thus might disappear entirely. And that creates a new problem. If there are no junior positions, where do future senior artists come from? How do people break into the industry? That's a question the industry hasn't answered yet. Look, I don't have a satisfying conclusion for this one, because it's messy and complicated and there are no easy answers. Companies are making decisions based on economics, and from a pure business perspective, those decisions make sense. But those decisions have real human costs, and they're changing the nature of creative working games. I think the technology itself isn't good or bad, it's a tool. But how we choose to use it and what we're willing to sacrifice for efficiency, that matters. And right now, I'm not sure we're having that conversation honestly as an industry. What I do know is that this is happening, it's happening fast, and we all need to pay attention to where it's going, because the decisions being made right now will shape what games look like and who gets to make them for the next decade. Thanks for watching. I know this was a heavy topic, but I think it's important to understand what's actually happening. Let me know your thought in the comments. And if you want more videos breaking down this kind of industry changes, subscribe. I've got more to say. See you next time.